Hello and welcome to the Capitol Report on Entity Television. I'm Steve Lance. All 19 defendants in the Georgia election case have now surrendered to the Fulton County Jail, with the few remaining ones turning themselves in this morning. NTD's Melina Wisecup joins us to discuss what's next in the case for the former president and his 18 co-defendants. So Melina, tell us more about today's final surrenders.
The last few surrenders did happen this morning, including former DOJ official Jeffrey Clark. Now, this Georgia case stretches across 19 people who were indicted. There's a total of 41 charges, 13 of which are directed at the former president, who is now wasting no time in trying to make campaign dollars off that mugshot that was taken last evening. In his first comeback on the platform X, formerly known as Twitter, he posted the mugshot himself, and now he's selling merchandise with that photo on it. So it will definitely be interesting to see how both sides of the political aisle are using that photo as we approach the 2024 presidential election. After leaving this jail at around 8 p.m. yesterday evening, the former president did stop to speak to reporters briefly before he boarded his airplane, and he said this to the reporters that were there and also in a message to America about this fourth indictment against him. Take a look.
I really believe this is a very sad day for America. This should never happen. If you challenge an election, you should be able to challenge an election. I thought the election was a rigged election, a stolen election, and I should have every right to do that. As you know, you have many people that you've been watching over the years do the same thing, whether it's Hillary Clinton or Stacey Abrams or many others. When you have that great freedom to challenge, you have to be able to, otherwise you're going to have very dishonest elections. What has taken place here is a travesty of justice. We did nothing wrong. I did nothing wrong. And everybody knows it. I've never had such support, and that goes with the other ones too. What they're doing is election interference. They're trying to interfere with an election. There's never been anything like it in our country before. This is their way of campaigning, and this is one instance, but you have three other instances. It's election interference.
So Melina, what's next for former President Trump and the others?
As for what's next in this case, well, all of the co-defendants will have to be arraigned in the court here in Georgia. Then they'll have a trial date. Now, so far, Mark Meadows, Trump's former chief of staff, he does have a hearing in federal court on this coming Monday regarding his request to move his case to federal court. The former DOJ official, Jeffrey Clark, did try to take the same route, but the former president, interestingly enough, has not tried to file to move his case to federal court, which he could on the grounds that he was an acting official at the time that these actions took place. But Trump now is trying to separate himself from those other co-defendants with regards to the trial date. So the judge in this case has already set a November 4th trial date for one of the co-defendants who requested a speedy trial. But Trump's lawyers promptly responded, saying that the former president does not want to be tied to any of these co-defendants who request such a speedy trial. Now, as for the arraignment that the district attorney has proposed for the week of September 5th, well, the judge ruled that video and audio will be allowed in those arraignments, which the former president will have to be present for. So this is something very interesting and different from the past three arraignments.
Melina Wisecup reporting. And joining us now to offer us his reaction to the prosecution of former President Trump in Georgia, we have Congressman Andy Ogles of Tennessee. Congressman Andy Ogles, thank you so much for joining us.
Absolutely. I appreciate you having me here on this, historic, time as we see our country's under assault. But again, thank you.
Indeed, we were watching it and covering that story thoroughly last night. And I would like to get your thoughts just to kick off our discussion. The booking of former President Trump last night, a mugshot that some say was meant to actually humiliate him, possibly now being turned into a rallying cry. Who could have predicted this?
Well, I think regardless of your political persuasion, Republican, Democrat, Independent, somewhere in between, this should alarm you that you have a former president being targeted, persecuted. What that means is that you are now vulnerable to the same type of attack. If they don't like you, they simply can jail you. They can target you. They can try to ruin and destroy your life. And so I would take this moment to say to anyone that's running in the GOP primary for president, it's time for you to suspend your campaign and unite behind Donald Trump. We've got to unify here and push back against this attack on America and the Constitution. And I'm going to say that plainly. Between our southern border being flooded, between these attacks on a former president, we are under assault, people, and it's go time, and it's time for us to push back.
To your point, and I've been talking to some folks from the other side of the aisle as well, do you think that parading the former president and former executive office officials could be turning off some of his detractors?
Yeah, I mean, I think this backfires on the Democrats. I think they've gone too far. It's kind of like with all the transgender crap. You know, the kids are sacrosanct. I don't care where you are on the political persuasion. And the fact that they're targeting our children has backfired them against them across the country. I think you're going to see the same thing with Trump. And look, again, I would be appalled if this was happening to Obama. Look, I don't agree with Barack Obama on really anything. You know, I don't know that we'd agree on lunch. But that being said, to have him targeted like this would be appalling. It would be an attack on the Constitution. And so it's time that we put an end to this. And so that's why, you know, I'm being so vocal and supportive of Donald Trump. And look, you can disagree with the man, you can like him or not like him, but this is a travesty of justice. And it underscores the fact that we now have a two-tier justice system in this country. And we the people, are vulnerable because if they don't like you, they're coming to get you.
What do you make of the former president posting on X, formerly known as Twitter, for the first time since his last days in office?
Well, you know, I'll just say Twitter because it's weird to call it X. But, you know, I think he should communicate to his constituents. You know, I thought, like you said before, that mugshot of him, which was meant to humiliate him, is now turned into a rallying cry. The fact, I mean, I think you saw, if you looked on X or Twitter, whatever you want to call it, that, you know, was like, welcome back, Mr. President. He looks ticked off. He looks ready to fight, and he should be. And I take it, you know, another person, Mark Meadows. I know him personally. He's a friend. He's a good, God-fearing Christian man who loves this country and loves the Constitution. He wouldn't do nothing to undermine our government or the Constitution, but they don't like him, so they're trying to destroy him. So I stand with Mark Meadows. I stand with Donald Trump, and I stand with the other defendants. This is absurd. It's ridiculous, and we the people should be terrified of this moment in history.
So now you have 4 indictments, 2 of which are under the jurisdiction of the Department of Justice. You've introduced a bill that would cut funding for the special counsel prosecuting in the 2 federal cases, one in D.C., one in Florida. What can you tell us about this?
Well, you know, it's, again, the Democrats, and I hate to make this partisan, but that's what it is. They started this fight, so we're going to finish it. But they're great at attacking us. They're great at suing us. And now they've gone on offense using the courts to target us. And look, I'm going to pause for a moment to say this has never worked in history. When you see that politics, that disagreements on policy are being settled by way of courts and prosecutions and jail time, that signaled the end of Rome. That signaled the end of the British Empire. And it should be a wake-up call to the United States of America that you and I can disagree, but we're going to settle this at the ballot box, not in the court. So I'm going on offense. We got to get points on the board. We've got to take it to them. We've got to fight back. And look, you know, I'm a nerd. I love our founding fathers. I love the Constitution. It's what protects all of us, and I'm going to fight like hell to preserve it.
Congressman Andy Ogles, really appreciate you joining us.
Thank you so much.
The Federal Reserve hinting at more rate hikes. This as it says inflation is still too high. That's as the economy factors into the 2024 presidential race. And NTD's Iris Tao brings us more from the White House.
Borrowing might get even more expensive as inflation remains too high. That's according to Federal Reserve Chair Jerome Powell, who says the central bank might raise interest rates even further.
Although inflation has moved down from its peak, a welcome development, it remains too high. We are prepared to raise rates further if appropriate.
Speaking Friday at the annual Jackson Hole Summit for Central Bankers, Powell says that the central bank is watching for signs that the U.S. economy might not be cooling as expected. He asked that while the Fed will proceed carefully, it does intend to continue its restrictive monetary policy
until we are confident that inflation is moving sustainably down toward our objective.
Both June and July saw an ease in the pace of price increases. But Powell says that's not enough for them to have confidence that it's going to keep going in that direction. But President Biden has been touting the recent inflation data.
It's now down to 3.2%, the lowest among, and it's going to go lower.
But Republican presidential candidates are taking aim at Bidenomics. The Federal Reserve is meeting next in September, and that's when we'll find out whether or not the Fed will once again raise interest rates, which currently stand at the highest level in over 2 decades. Reporting from the White House, Iris Tao, NTD News.
Thank you for watching the Capitol Report. If you want to see our full broadcast, check us out at epochtv.com.